Hey everybody, this is Mary Z from Voice Hacks by Mary Z, and you are geeking out with Gear Gods.
Hey guys, Alex from Gear Gods here. I'm here with Mary.
Hi.
Mary is, you might know her from her YouTube channel.
Yep, Mary Z. If you want to look at it, youtube.com/voicehacks by Mary Z.
Yeah, she is quite well known, at least amongst people in the industry and musicians. Her channel's top stuff. Me and Trey watch it all the time. If you guys watched our music video, Purgatory, by Virtue, Trey, it's a lot of things. Trey's improved greatly since the last time you may have heard him record some vocals. And that is at least partly because of Mary's channel here. I've checked it out too. Me and Trey have different vocal problems. Okay. My problem is, well, I have a few problems, but when I sing high, I tend to, yeah.
Very common.
Yeah, exactly. But like power is not an issue at all for me.
Okay.
Or like getting like the right pitches and stuff like that, also not a problem for me.
Okay.
It's just, yeah, and yeah, and it's also pretty nasally when I get up there too.
Well, that's what happens when the larynx raises in the throat as we sing high. If we don't know how to keep it relaxed, which you can't really do with a direct thought. It can be like, hey, just hold it in place, buddy. If it were that easy, I wouldn't have.
Yeah, I've been trying for 2 years. I don't know how many vocal coaches. They're like, you're just weird. Also, they've also tried to get me to raise my soft palate, which is apparently impossible for me.
No. See, this is what should be happening. You can't consciously. The soft palate's a reflexive muscle, so it's really hard. It's almost impossible to lift it. If you try to lift it, you'll actually push your larynx down out of position instead of up. So what we try to do is we use our abstract thought to control the voice, and eventually when the larynx, you'll eventually find your neutral larynx position, and when it's in the neutral position, the soft palate naturally raises, and it's a reflexive muscle. When it's too high, this is why people say your soft palate needs to be raised, is if it sounds exactly like to me, you're singing high, the larynx is shooting up. The soft palate actually drags, and then we have a resonant space that looks like this. I'm trying to show the camera. Right. To where you don't get enough resonance then. Oh. When it's relaxed, it's like this, and then we have a lot of resonant space back here, and then we're able to sing high, very relaxed. So and you won't have to, I do not recommend consciously trying to lift.
Oh my God, for the past, I don't know how many years. And you know, it's funny because you mentioned that, when you're constantly trying to do it, it also like messes up with your larynx.
Yeah, it'll make it. So what happens is we don't have a lot of direct control over these muscles. They are connected to our abstract thoughts, how you can speak with pitch and tone every day so strongly that sometimes we say stuff we did not mean to say, or in the tone we did not want to say it in. And so we have to tap into that to control our voice, but we can't control it like I say raise and lower your hand or whatever. I can't say raise and lower your larynx. But so if you consciously try to control it, a lot of times things do move into the opposite wrong position. So if I try to raise my soft palate, generally what happens is then people actually can't raise it. They end up dropping their larynx. And so in the classical world, I actually did this when I was first starting out in my opera training back in the day, because I was hearing big voices, and it's actually called over-covering when you do it, because your soft palate is covering your windpipe. So it sounds a lot like like that, but really opera singing should sound like but you hear the difference? Right. So when my larynx is relaxed and my soft palate just naturally reflexively lifted, you're going to be fighting a losing battle trying to raise it yourself, everybody. So watch my videos on like the neutral larynx, looking up information on that. I think that will help a great deal for that type of problem. So.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that explanation you gave, I've been taking lessons, went to school for vocals for maybe like, I don't know, like 3 years now. A lot of people gave me a lot of different explanations, and I'm sure there's some validity to everything that they've said, but that's what you just described as maybe the most what's the word? Yeah, it seems like the most logical.
Yes, it's It's unfortunate because we have this phenomenon until very recently, because a lot of vocal research we couldn't even do till recently because we have to look in fiber optic cameras, and some things we still would have to see like in an MRI. And we didn't have MRIs we could move till recently either. So a lot of the stuff we know about the voice is actually very recent. So a lot of vocal instructors are still well-intended people, but who don't have a lot of real information about what's going on, why, how it's controlled. I've had to not only get a music degree, but do a mountain of research on top of it on the very few things that are available to compile all of this and to really understand all that, on top of like coaching like 600 lessons a year. So it's a lot of stuff to do. So, but I try to do that, try to bring it to you guys in a simple way that you can just use and understand. So much of it is abstract, and I'm trying to get rid of that, you know, so.
One of my best friends, Devin, he was a guitarist in my band, and for the longest time, he was convinced he was never going to be a singer. He was never going to be a vocalist. It was just never going to happen. And like the most he could ever sing was maybe like kind of like hum very quietly to a song. And I was like, dude. And he was like, I tried once, man. And I guess he had like a bad experience with a trainer or somebody, because they said, oh yeah, like you're just born a certain way, and that's just how it's going to be. You're going to just limit it to this certain factors. Yeah. Or I can't remember exactly the details, but it was something like that. And I was like, and at the time I had been like taking vocal lessons for like a year, and I was like, dude, you gotta know, man. Like, no, if you actually like practice it hard enough, you can actually, you can do almost anything, right? And he did it, and he sounds amazing now. But like almost every day, like serious practice. Yeah. Vocal instructor, like practicing every day, but he did it, and he sounds incredible. Like every time I let somebody listen to him, they're like, "That can't be Devin. There's no way that's Devin." Yeah.
But that's what I tell people, you know, it's an instrument that can be learned. That's why I started my channel. It was kind of to take the myth off of it that you either have it or you don't. It isn't. And that's why I started interviewing singers, too, because it's not magic. Just interviewing the last guy, you know, just all the mountains of things that they had put into it, the tremendous amount of effort. It is never, ever magic. Even if the person says they never took lessons, I'll interview them and they'll be like, but I do 120 gigs in a cover band a year. But I spent my whole life doing musicals. Right. This is never, ever, ever magic. It's always, like, I've spent many years, and I was terrible in my first metal band. Like, not the one that got signed, Luna Moore's my first band that nobody knows. Right. You know, it's just horrible. Why? Because I didn't know what I was doing, and now I've been playing effectively my instrument way longer now, and it should be a lot better. And so everybody has to understand that. And I hate when I hear stories about, so many people say, my voice teacher said, well, you just don't have it. You're just not going to be a good singer. And I said, well, that teacher lucked out, didn't they? That's a cop-out. Right. If you're a good teacher, you will bust your ass to figure out a way to help that person learn the instrument. If a person sucks, I'm happier at that because it's better for me. It's more challenge for me. I can probably help you more. If people who are amazing don't need voice lessons. Right. So I am always trying to figure out the solution to the problem to help them, and it's made me a much better teacher. When voice teachers perpetuate that myth that you either have it or you don't, then what are they teaching? You know, it's just annoying to me to hear that. Whenever somebody says, oh, they said I didn't have it and they didn't want to teach me anymore, I said, well, they got off easy. Real easy for them, you know, like, way to go. What a cop-out. Does a guitar teacher get to do that? Not really. So it's just, we got to know that when we're looking for a teacher, we're looking for somebody who will spend the time with you, too, and actually invest in your technique and can specifically describe why they're asking you to do things and not just for arbitrary reasons. Many people who are somewhat naturally good at singing will become vocal coaches, but because they didn't have to do the extensive research, they might be very well intended, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions, you know. Right. They might not know what they're doing. I see it a lot, unfortunately. Yeah. So,
in my experience, the people who are, I say talented, right? People who just naturally have certain coordinations in built up already, you know, that makes it easier for them to do things, tend to not be very good vocal instructors because they didn't go through the.
Yeah, and that's super important, though, to remember that just because someone is a really good singer doesn't mean they're going to be able to teach you how to be a really good singer. You have to, like, review their materials. And also I'm wary of people who don't give out any information. I have plenty of students, more than I can handle, every year from all over the world, and I give out a lot of information to the point where some people were shocked that I was willing to just tell people all that stuff. But it isn't magic. People need to know this. They need to have real tips. I'm really trying to help people genuinely, and I think when people are caring carrot danglers, and they don't give you a lot of tips. That's also a red flag because there really isn't any reason why we need to hold this information back. I mean, you want people to be healthy and to perform well. You want to encourage good things. What's the point of being a teacher, otherwise?
All right, well, thank you, Mary, so much. That was very, very informative. If you guys want to learn infinitely more than what you just learned now, I highly recommend checking out Mary's channel, Voice Hacks.
Voice Hacks by Mary Z on YouTube. Thanks, guys.